Aaron Rodgers just ignored the Pittsburgh Steelers. Their own deadline. Gone. No call. No text. No answer. And here is the part that will shock you. The Steelers literally handed him the keys to their franchise last season. He rewarded them with a playoff run. Now, with the NFL draft days away in their own city, Rodgers is completely silent. So did he betray them? Stay with me. Let's go back to last year first, because you need to understand exactly what the Steelers gave up to get here. Pittsburgh was a mess at quarterback going into 2025. They had no clear starter. The front office was scrambling. Then they took a massive bet on a 2-year-old quarterback with a surgically repaired Achilles and a reputation for dragging his feet on decisions. That bet paid off. Rodgers threw 23 touchdowns and only 7 interceptions in 2025. The Steelers won the AFC North Division title for the first time since 2020. They made the playoffs. The city was buzzing. But here is the thing nobody is talking about right now. Rodgers did not even sign with Pittsburgh until June 6th of last year. June. The draft was in April. OTAs were starting, and he still had not committed. The Steelers waited nearly 3 months while their offseason sat frozen. They went through all of that, won a division title, and now they are right back in the exact same spot. So, when people call this a betrayal, you have to ask yourself one question. Did the Steelers really think this time would be different? We are going to get to whether this is actually a betrayal or not. But first, you need to hear what. Back in January, Steelers general manager Omar Khan sent a message to Rodgers' camp. The word that came out was simple. They needed a decision in about a month, before free agency. That was the ask. That was a direct change from how they handled things in 2025. New head coach Mike McCarthy was coming in. The roster needed to be rebuilt. Positions needed to be filled. You cannot build around a quarterback you do not have. Then came the NFL owners' meetings in late March. Steelers president Art Rooney II stood in front of reporters and said he hoped Rodgers would decide before the draft. He did not call it a hard deadline, but the message was clear. Pittsburgh is hosting the draft. Thousands of people, national spotlight, multiple days of coverage. The last thing Rooney wanted was reporters asking about Rodgers every 5 minutes instead of celebrating the city. That was a completely reasonable ask. Then NFL insider Tom Pelissero went on The Rich Eisen show and said this: "I have no anticipation Aaron Rodgers is going to announce anything prior to the draft. I know that Art Rooney II had indicated he hoped it would be around then. I have not been told that. I don't think that is really a deadline from the Steelers' perspective." Read that again. Pelissero is not just some random reporter. He is one of the most connected insiders in the NFL. When he says he has not been told something, that means Rodgers' camp is not communicating with the league. Nobody knows anything. And the draft starts April 23rd. Here is where this gets even more interesting, because Rodgers himself spoke. And what he said is either completely reasonable or completely tone-deaf, depending on how you look at it. Rodgers spoke publicly about his timeline, and he did not sugarcoat it. He said, "There has been no deadline put in front of me. There is no contract offer or anything, so there is nothing that I am having to debate between. I am a free agent, and I am enjoying my time with my wife and enjoying this part of the offseason." That is the quote. Word for word. No contract offer, no deadline, no rush. Now here is the key detail most people are missing. He said there is no contract offer on the table. That means the Steelers have not even formally offered Rodgers a deal yet. You cannot miss a deadline for a contract that does not exist. So who is actually holding this up? The Steelers want commitment before they offer a contract. Rodgers wants a contract before he commits. Nobody is moving, and the draft is in days. Meanwhile, the only 2 quarterbacks currently on Pittsburgh's roster are Mason Rudolph and Will Howard, a 6th-round pick from 2025. That is it. That is what the Steelers are walking into the draft with if Rodgers does not call. And here is the part that should genuinely worry every Steelers fan. The 2026 draft is not rich in quarterbacks. Pittsburgh is not going to find their starter on draft weekend. Pelissero said it himself. The Steelers have the most draft picks of any team in 2026, 12 total, including the 21 overall pick. But none of those picks solve the quarterback problem if Rodgers walks away. So, what happens if he just retires? Here is something that actually gives Pittsburgh real hope. And it is the reason this is not completely falling apart yet. Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers have history. Real history. McCarthy was Rodgers' head coach in Green Bay. Together, they won a Super Bowl. They know each other's systems, habits, and preferences better than almost any coach-quarterback pair in the league right now. That relationship is exactly why the Steelers hired McCarthy. Not just for the offense, not just for the experience, but because he is one of the few people on earth who can pick up the phone and actually get Rodgers to answer. Reports confirm that McCarthy and the Steelers are still in contact with Rodgers. Conversations are happening. It is not total silence. But here is the problem. McCarthy's comfort with Rodgers may actually be making this worse. Because McCarthy knows how Rodgers operates, he is not panicking. He is being patient, and that patience is giving Rodgers zero urgency to decide. The Steelers are not threatening to move on. They are not making aggressive moves at quarterback in the draft. They are waiting. Again, remember the title of this video, Betrayal. We are almost at the answer. But first, one more fact that completely changes how you see this whole situation. Every day the Steelers wait, they lose ground. Other teams are building. Other quarterbacks are getting signed and settled into systems. Offensive linemen are practicing with quarterbacks. Receivers are learning timing routes. Defenses are game planning. Pittsburgh is standing still. There is also a real draft cost here. If Rodgers was never coming back, the Steelers could use draft capital to make a big move at quarterback, trade up for a prospect, target a guy in the middle rounds to develop. But because Rodgers is still technically in the picture, Pittsburgh cannot commit to any of those moves without looking foolish if Rodgers calls the next day and says yes. They are stuck in limbo. And Rodgers put them there. Pelissero added one more thing that actually matters for Pittsburgh's planning. He said the more important date for the Steelers is mid-May, when OTAs begin. If Rodgers is there on the grass practicing with the team, the late decision becomes manageable. If he waits until June again like he did in 2025, the Steelers lose a full spring of work together. In a new system with a new head coach, that spring work is not optional. It is essential. And think about what that spring actually means for this specific situation. McCarthy runs a specific offense, timing routes, specific protections, pre-snap communication that takes weeks to build between a quarterback and his line. Will Howard has been in that building since last year. He is already getting those reps. If Rodgers shows up in June, he is 2 months behind a 6th-round rookie in terms of system familiarity. That is not a small gap. That is a real problem for a 2-year-old quarterback who needs every possible advantage just to stay functional at this level. The Steelers know this. McCarthy knows this. And Rodgers almost certainly knows this too. Which makes the silence even harder to explain. So, did Aaron Rodgers betray the Pittsburgh Steelers? No, not technically. But here is the truth. He is doing exactly what he did to them last year, and the year before with the Jets. Rodgers operates on his own calendar. Always has. He told you himself, no deadline, no contract, no rush. He is enjoying the offseason. The Steelers made a choice when they decided to wait for him in 2025. They made that choice again when they hired McCarthy partly to maintain the Rodgers relationship. Every decision they have made this offseason has been built around the hope that a 2-year-old quarterback who has not committed to anything will eventually say yes. That is not betrayal. That is the deal they signed up for. But here is the brutal reality sitting right underneath all of this. The 2026 NFL Draft is in Pittsburgh, their own city, their own streets, their own fans. And Aaron Rodgers is at home with his wife, with no contract on the table, with no deadline he feels responsible for, completely unbothered. The Steelers do not have a Rodgers problem. They have a leverage problem. And until they are willing to walk away, Rodgers has no reason to hurry. The draft starts April 23rd. The clock is ticking, and right now, only one side seems to care.